Well, Claire, hi.
Hello.
Um, I got in here late. I don't really know what you guys were all talking about, but I heard some comment about the Trinity again, and
Yes.
I think the Trinity is just based on I think it's based on the idea that we're made in the image of God, and it's based on human psychology. But the makeup of the human mind is what I think the Trinity's from. Like you have the Father, you have the Son, and you have the Spirit. It's your commanding self. That's the Father, the intellect thinking part. Then you have the manifestation of those thoughts and stuff, and then you have some sort of a spirit, some kind of an awareness or spiritual stuff that seems to be a third person within yourself. That's what I think the Trinity idea actually came from.
Oh, it's like the ego, super ego, and id thing. But then there are many kinds of trinities and
Yeah,
hateful.
that's what Saint Augustine bases the Trinity on the human psyche. The second part of his book. I didn't read that part, but yeah, I think that's kind of what it is. They created an idea of God based on the human nature, sort of like creating your own God from yourself. Sort of. It's kind of like that's kind of like what I think went on. Because that's how they were thinking. If you're sitting somewhere and you want to do something, you have the thought, then you have the action, and then it seems like you're having a dialogue with yourself in your own mind. For a lot of people, I guess some people don't do that, but a lot of people actually have conversations within their self.
Like, should
And
I
I
do
think
this? That
no,
kind of
not just
thing.
that. Sometimes they're just talking to they have a running dialogue inside their own head.
Hmm.
A lot of people, some people don't. They say some people don't, but a lot of people do.
Hmm.
Like when you're thinking, okay, that's like the voice seems like it's coming from somewhere else. This sort of thing. I think it's based on that. Like they think, okay, people are made in God's image. So then they're looking at themselves and think, okay, that must be what God's is because we're made in his image.
Oh,
But
right.
an image is actually an imperfect reflection in a mirror. Right.
Hmm.
So an image isn't the same as whatever God is. But anyway, I think that's kind of like where the idea comes from.
Right.
That's what I
I mean, I think a lot of people do have I mean, if you ever observe, as I used to when I was a child, you see somebody, people don't notice children, and they're more uninhibited when they're around children, and they, be in the middle of chopping up the vegetables, and they go, they smack themselves on their own foreheads, and say, what a fool I was, well, and they scold themselves. So I guess you don't actually have to believe in God to have an internal dialogue, because, I guess people are thinking, should I do this thing? Should I have done this thing? And these thoughts can sometimes, um, express, come through as speech, and people talking to themselves, apparently. But as for the Trinity, I mean, I do have a particular theory about it, and I'm saying the Trinity was really created by Athanasius to win arguments against the Jews, because he anticipated that the Jews would go up to Christians and say, "Hey, Christian, you worship Jesus, don't you?" And the Christian would have to say yes, and the Jew would say, "You think your Jesus was the Son of the Father, don't you? Of the Holy Father, don't you?" And the Christian would have to say yes. And the Jew would say, "Well, that Father is the God of Israel, and therefore we win."
And he ain't no baby's daddy, right?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
And he ain't the baby's daddy.
Uh,
Who's your
oh,
daddy?
right,
He's
right,
not.
right, right, right. Okay.
He's not
I
that.
should have got that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the Jews would say, "Oh, we think, the daddy of your Jesus is a Roman soldier called Panthera or something," which is in their
You know,
Talmud.
Claire, I don't want to say the name of the stream or anything, but I was watching one for a while yesterday, and I was somewhat horrified at how all the men didn't seem like they had any male man vibe at all. I was really horrified by that. If that's what the younger men are like, I think the human race is just dying off and the white people are going to go first. That's all.
Yeah,
That was
yeah, I know what
horrible.
you mean because even their voices are just so effeminate. And it's like, we women, we respond to, intuitions and instincts, and we think, they're not going to solve any problem. They're competing with us women to moan and whinge, and soon they'll, be dressed up in drag to be damsels in distress, and
No,
blow us up out of the
it's
way.
bad. It's bad. Even when I was overseas, I was noticing that the younger guys don't seem to have much, I don't know what you want to call it, man smell or something. I don't know what you want to call it. I mean, I'm not talking about perspiration or something. I'm just like,
Pheromones. I mean, men.
whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's missing. It's missing. I mean, something's wrong here. If it's going to be like that, yeah, the white guys are going to go first. The white women are going to go after these foreign guys, and then it's just going to be end of this particular human race altogether. This is horrible. This is really horrible. I don't know, that's really awful.
Well,
Really horrible.
you see, I'm trying to explain to people, to men particularly, that masculinity is, we're just going to assume that, if you're male, you will have balls, and and of course, ideally, we want you, to have broad shoulders and a six pack. But it's like, yeah, you're male, and you could be, well, fat or fit, but the point is that there is this thing called principles that um we're supposed to die for, you know. N-
Well, Claire, even if there's a okay, even a lesbian woman, let's say a lesbian woman died with a six pack, and her haircut does not give off a man vibe. This is a serious problem that's going on.
Yes, I was going on to say that men have to die for the principle of being men, because because we, or traditional societies, expected men to defend territory, which means possibly, dying in war. Yes, and that is basically what men are, and women. Well, they can die in childbirth. If you want to talk about, people dying for doing the thing they're supposed to do, but anyway, that is the whole idea of having these gender roles, because y- you wouldn't. Okay, if all your men have died, there's no point sending your women or your elderly to fight the war. You have to surrender, or you'll just get killed for no good reason. This is the reality of war. But now men are openly saying, "Well, I would defend my country. Why would I? Women, the matriarchy has been so mean to me. It never, helped me, and I'm an incel, and I'm a volcel. I don't have a stake in society, and I think that's a reason to have a stake in society means to be a married father, and
Well, it's more than that though, Claire, because they're not going to be married fathers if they don't have. This isn't just mental. I'm saying something else is going on. This isn't just a mental or a thought thing. There's something wrong. I think it looks to me like you have a huge, gigantic portion of the human race that's dying off actually dying off. It's just that white people are going first.
Because they've been
That's what
marinating in feminism for longer than any other race.
I don't think it's just marinating in feminism because I don't think um even listening to that stuff would turn people into this. This is not just marinating in feminism. There's something wrong. It's something genetically going wrong with the human race. It's just dying out. We're going to go out like the Neanderthals did or something. It's just something wrong. This big bunch of all the I mean, man, it used to be if you walked into a room there was a bunch of men in it, you just knew there were men in there.
Mm.
I'm not I don't see this. I don't see this in these younger city guys. I'm not seeing it. It's just not there. Now, why it's not there, I'm not sure, but I do not believe it's just because they go into school and people are talking feminism. I don't believe that's the whole
I think
problem at
it's
all.
I think basically it's a mindset. You see, if you don't believe in God, then you will have a short-termist kind of thinking, like, well, you only live once. I'm not going to refuse any opportunities to have sex with women, and then status is now kind of um, measured by how attractive you are. We live in a culture of youth and
No,
beauty.
I don't think so, Claire. Claire, something else is wrong. Something else is wrong than this. It's not just mental. I mean, even kids, like, kids when they were young, I know there's something else wrong.
Mm.
Absolutely something else wrong. It's too much. It's too pervasive among these younger guys that there is just they don't exude male. I mean, remember what that time you were talking to William Briannis a long time ago? And you said, "Oh, he has gravatas, or whatever that word is. He has that. He has it. I'm not seeing these younger guys having it, and it's not just because someone taught it. It's a genetic thing, and genetics you can't change just by yakking at someone. If somebody really likes women, they're going to like women. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to think a guy is a substitute for this is something else because they are not exuding. Yeah, Farron, something's
It's
wrong.
an attitude problem.
It's not just attitude, it's something's actually physically going wrong with the human race. And why that's happening, I'm not sure. Okay, but I believe it's more than that. I believe it's more than just attitude and stuff. You can't you could attitude me all day long. I'm not going to have the hots for a woman. You know what I'm saying? But if you're going to have a bunch of men that are not even giving off whatever that biological thing is that makes a woman think she's in a room with a man, that the whole race is going to die off. The whole human race is going to go. And it's just white people are going first and people are talking about that. But I noticed even overseas, the younger guys, they don't have it. They're not having the same thing that the older guys have. And they sure as hell don't have like what was going on in my father's generation.
Yes.
It's not there. It's not there. And it's not just how people are behaving. It's not acting. It's not the pep talk, be a man. That's not the problem. It's something physical. Something's wrong. The DNA, the genetic, it's dying off. Humans are dying off. So what's the next human going to look like? I don't know. And so white guys are mad. These women, white women are going with these foreign guys. Well, the foreign guys,
Well,
a lot of these foreign
they
guys,
have this je ne sais quoi that you're talking about,
I,
right?
I don't know if it's je ne sais quoi, but they have more of a man vibe for some reason. If you're stuck in a room, I mean, I don't. If you're well, okay, I told you like when I went on Hajj,
Mhm,
by far, by far, the best men on Hajj were those Lebanese.
mhm.
And you never thought you weren't standing next to a man around those Lebanese. And I'm not saying that I'm not married to a Lebanese guy or anything. I'm just saying they kept all the men off their women going around that cabin. Nobody pushed up against their women. Okay, but it wasn't just that. It's just you knew if you were blindfolded, you would have known you were standing in a room with a man. If you blind, it used to be a game people used to play, like a kind of a joke. Okay, if you're blindfolded, can you tell if it's a man or a woman? You know what I mean? This is sort of a drinking game people used to play, kind of a little bit, kind of like a joke thing, but I don't know if people could tell the difference anymore. I don't think your biologically radar is picking up the difference sexes anymore to the same extent they used to. And it's not because the women is dressed like a guy or the guy's wearing a dress. It's gone with these younger people. And no, they're not going to have kids. And no, it's just dying off. They're waiting until 40 to have a kid. They'll have one. Yeah, it's the end of the human race if people can't figure out what this problem is. It's not just attitude. It's not just what people are talking. It's not because they were sitting in a class and they kept getting in trouble for trying to defend themselves. I have seen, I saw a kid one time in a tea house. It was very obvious that kid was going to grow up and be a very bossy kind. I mean, it was very obvious he was going to be a very manly man. He was a little kid, but I'm not seeing this anymore in the same extent it was when
The
I
end
was
of
younger.
co-education would sort this out.
It's not co-education. It's not the education system that's causing this. It's actually something biological is happening to the human race, is what I believe. But why, I don't know. And I don't believe it's just being talked into.
I actually,
It
I'd
used to
say it's
be
even.
when I was a kid in school, it didn't matter how many times you told some little boy, quit trying to hit someone, they would just knock them on their butt. If it was about, it's gone. This is horrible. And so these white guys, these white nationalists, they don't want these women marrying these foreign guys. Well, the foreign guys, their stuff is just dying off a little bit later than the white guy. That's all. The whole human race is going to go. That's what's going on.
Yeah, because I mean, I think it's about these white men. Have you heard of the Japanese herbivore, the grass eater? Have you heard of this phenomenon in Japanese society?
No.
Well, basically, there's a new breed of Japanese men who aren't interested in finding themselves a wife, and that's why they're called herbivores or grass eaters.
Well, they can't eat like that. People can't eat like that. Buddhists, monks, and stuff. One of the reasons they promote vegetarian eating is to lower the sex drive of the monks. Even Thich Nhat Hanh said that.
Yeah, yeah, and
They
I'm
don't
trying to.
want a bunch of horny monks up there
Mm,
doing anything. It's trying to control it. Well, if they're going to eat, maybe it is the diet. I don't know. Maybe it's all the pesticides on the food we're eating. Something is seriously
the
wrong.
bromide.
And
I,
everybody,
I think bromide was put in the tea of British servicemen to stop them being so horny or rapey or whatever. But
well, the Shaw used to put camphor in the food at the universities.
the Shah.
Okay, yeah, you could the Shaw of Iran. Yeah, that's what they used to do at the university. They gave out all this food to eat, but there was camphor. And I knew someone whose dad worked in the university
And
over
did it
there.
work?
Yeah, they put camphor. Yeah, because what happened was women were going to the university. They didn't want to have a bunch of
Pregnant.
pregnant women, and you know what I'm saying. They were trying to control the sex drive of the men with this, but I'm saying is there's really something serious wrong. I've never there's such a parade of. I mean, it's almost to the point that I don't think any father's got to worry about their daughter if they're going out with a white guy. If this is what they're coming off like, they're just going somewhere shopping with their girlfriend or something. This is awful. This is really horrible. I've just seen more and more and more of this, and I'm not talking about effeminate behavior. There just is no man vibe, no man, no sense that the man is even in a room.
Mm,
You used to be afraid. It used to be, people don't realize it used to be um uh when you were in public. Okay, one of the reasons you always saw pictures of Jackie Kennedy in public wearing a coat was women used to put a coat on. They're around men. Like even if they went out somewhere for the evening, they had a coat on and stuff because they knew they were around men, and men, it would make you a little bit nervous. It's gone.
mm.
This is gone except for criminal element and stuff. This is not this is the human race is dying out altogether. If something's not, if the reason for that's not found out. Do you understand what I'm saying here?
I
It's
think so. I,
more
I
than
think
just talking. They're not afraid. They're not afraid. I mean, yeah, women get raped and stuff. I'm not saying these horrible things don't happen. It happens all the time. But it's more than just, it's too much percentage of the population of men do not have whatever that natural thing is the male animal should have for the woman to realize that's a man. It's missing. And that's not something that was talked out. That's something biological. Something's wrong.
yeah. If you watch Caleb Morpin's, beginning, there's all, I think it was Harry Truman or something, and the men of the American man of the 1950s has a certain kind of voice that is totally lacking in modern men. If you know what I
Well,
mean,
yeah,
it's the
but it's
way
not
they
the,
talk.
well,
It's radio, TV voices. They talk in a different way. You can just tell the age of a man by the way he talks.
yeah, there's that. But like LBJ, I mean, you knew those were men in the room, but I do think some of these rural guys still have it. That it might be something to do with city living, or it might have something to, something to do with the diet. But um, people are eating really weird now.
Mhm.
They eat really weird. It's not man food to go eat a, a hummus sandwich or a vegan This is not food for a human. It's not. It's food for some monk so that they don't
They
get
don't
horny,
breed.
basically. Yeah, so they don't get horny. Yeah, that's what's going on. Yeah, this is bad. And it's not just a high voice color. I've seen Arabs with high voices, and you knew well, I don't want to be alone in that guy room with that guy. I mean, you know what I'm
Mm.
saying? It's not just the voices, but yeah, the whole thing. And I don't believe it's just learned effect and all that. I don't believe that anymore.
Well,
And it might be the pesticides, because pesticides were introduced, I don't know if right around when my parents were born or right after in the United States. Maybe it's the pesticides, but something's killing the male vibe off. And then, some of this women going with women, I think it's just because uh they're just not really around. This is horrible. This is shocking. And I see it overseas too.
mm.
I see it
Oh, the
overseas,
Chinese
not
have a
just,
problem because I
oh,
know
they
I
do
know the
too, huh?
CCP was saying, well, what's happening to our boys? They're like little girls now. It's like, no, it's co-ed, it's co-education, and
Oh,
oh
that's
yes,
how
the other thing is
education on my
is
parents.
actually you have to make people
Uh,
feel guilty about sex to the point of forbidding masturbation, because the whole idea is that look, we women would be in trouble. Well, how would we ever get men to do anything for us, i- to be our husbands, if they didn't want to have sex with us? it would be almost impossible, right?
But they don't want to have
Yeah,
sex,
because it's okay
Claire.
for them to be gay. It's okay for them to have sex with, anyone else. Um, and it's quite easy to, because all these categories of sexual acts that would have been considered sexual offences in the previous generation have all been legalized, and drugs are legal.
Yeah, I don't think that's the whole problem. I don't believe that's the whole problem, Claire, because they're not acting like men who are interested in that. I know there's too many. I'm not saying every single guy's not interested. I'm saying the percentage is way too high.
Yes, because you hear them on TV and you
Way
see them
too high.
you see them on TV and you hear them on radio, how utterly unattractive they are, how they say it and what they say, and they're lying, and there's nothing in these voices to admire.
Okay, look, Claire, I had a chiropractor for a while. Okay. And he was a grown man, all that. And he went and got some lady pregnant,
Hmm.
right? And then got it again. So then they were gonna try it, getting married or whatever. Okay, he was an adult. I was just like, it, and I don't know why he's talking to me because sometimes, maybe because you're adjusting something. I don't know why he was even telling me this. And sometimes people tell me weird things. So anyway, he was telling me this. I said, "Isn't that something you were supposed to do in high school? You're screwed up your finance." I mean, basically, he screwed up his finances. He had two kids he was going to have to pay for, and it didn't work out between him and the lady. But it's like, was it so doing something this stupid, something you were supposed to do in high school?
How old was he?
Okay. Oh, he was, well, younger than me. He must have been, maybe he was 35, 40. I don't know. But I just thought, okay, this is just a little
Yeah, don't you know to put
cornball.
something on?
Well, it was just kind of. I'm just saying that I they don't. They're the incel thing is too much. As all I'm saying is, it used to be like, you wouldn't have dare. I mean, some father just would not dare to allow his daughter to have some guy visiting her in the house when the parents were at home or something. That just wasn't gonna fly back in the day. Now no one's worried about it because nothing's happening. It's too much, nothing happening. And then what is happening, yeah, some people are having a bunch of illegitimate kids, but there's way too many people not having any because they don't have a sex drive. Some of these guys are just not getting a woman because they have no sex drive at all.
Yes, they don't even
This
want.
is biological, Claire. Claire, that's biological. It didn't matter how. It's kind of like a lot of guys in prison. Maybe they would go gay in prison, and then they were back out hopping on women when they get out.
Yeah.
They wanted sex with women.
I think it's a
They
free
want a
porn.
woman.
Carol, it's a
Well,
free
it doesn't matter
porn.
about free. Oh, free porn. Porn is a lazy man's view
Yes.
into sex. I mean, porn is an addictive kind of weird
Did did
thing,
did you
but
did you
it's not
hear
just
did you
porn.
see that horrible ad for Democrats of this young man masturbating, and then this older man walking in on him and saying we're going to ban all that? Did you see that campaign
No,
advertisement for the Democrats?
no, no.
Oh, that's a terrible one. I don't know how to find it now. But
Oh, they're insane.
no, no.
Well, I'm
I
sure
couldn't believe it when I saw it. Um, but obviously, that didn't get on. But somebody was making the point that if vote Democrat if you want abortion and all kinds of sexual freedoms.
Well, there is something wrong. Yeah, kids are exposed to stuff. They do become bored. Bored. If you're exposed to stuff way too early, then it becomes boring later and later and later, and people start getting weird. And people will get weird sexually if they become bored with it going too young. Starting out way too young and stuff. They will. That's where, yeah, the porn and all that stuff has to go, but that's not just the problem because There's a physical need to want to procreate, and for some reason, that's disappearing out of the race. Out of the humans, for some reason, all these people that are kind of like that, they're not going to be making kids, and because there's no appealing about it. It's just like, what are you going to do? Say, okay, we're going to make a kid now. Let's put the timer on. Okay, okay. Uh, what are we going to do now? This is terrible. This is not. This is beyond this other stuff. You couldn't have talked. No, no, it's more than just the social problems and stuff is true too, but it's more than that. Absolutely more than that. I'm telling you right now. I don't think my husband or his friends, these people, I don't think they had any intention of going through life without having a woman. They just weren't going to. They were going to get married. They wanted a woman. They wanted one. They wanted one.
But wouldn't you agree, Carol, that fornication was the gateway sexual offence? Because once you say, well, what's the harm of having a bit of sex before marriage? You let the floodgates. Well,
Well,
you've opened the
sure.
floodgates. That
Sure,
was what
I'm
happened.
agreeing. Yeah, well, yeah, but opening the floodgates wouldn't create a room full of men that are not given that have no that if a woman can't even okay, a woman's not intuitively understanding that's a man anymore.
Yes,
That
because the
something is
man is
wrong.
not behaving in a way that is showing the
It's more than behavior.
okay, the man is not sexually harassing the woman, but
No,
then
it's not sexual harassing. It's not sexual harassing. It's not being picked up. I mean, the reason humans like to have sex with humans is because there's those pharaohs or whatever it is that makes you want to have sex with another human, right? As opposed to having sex with a dog. Why? Because you want to be with a human. It's missing now. Somehow that is disappearing. It's going away. So now sex is becoming uh a man needs to relieve getting rid of some, sperm or whatever. But I mean, it's more than that. It's more than that. So both things need to be addressed, the social weirdness, but also that. It's not harassing women. You could have a guy come up and harass you, and you're not getting a man vibe off of him. There could be a guy in a store in line, and you're kind of like, oh yeah, man, that guy's kind of masculine. And it's not just because they have a few muscles. It's something else. Something
Mhm.
else, because otherwise nobody would have had sex in the first place. It's more than just whether they're just appealing. It's more than just being physically attractive, or it's more than just being like George Clooney in the room or something. It's more than that because you can see very, very attractive. Okay, like there was that blonde actor that used to be on TV. Oh, he was always playing the heartthrob in the old movies.
Mhm.
The guy had no sex appeal.
Who's this
He
guy?
had I don't know what his name was. Some blonde guy. He finally got picked up being with gays in Hollywood and stuff. But he did not have sex with people, and neither did that other guy. What's the guy that died with AIDS? I don't know. He
Rock
Rock
Hudson?
Hudson. Rock Hudson. He had zero sex appeal if you were watching him as a woman. You didn't have sex appeal for him, but he played like the heartthrob in all these movies. He was gay. Well, you just
Mm,
knew they weren't interested in what you knew. Even though if you watch him on film, they just didn't have it.
mm.
You could just kind of tell he wasn't acting effeminate in the shows or anything. But that blonde guy was really the blonde guy. He would play like with the sort of teenage role, like it was even as a kid. Even as a kid, you could see he didn't have any man vibe. But people would say, yeah, he was good looking. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
This is a serious problem. The man vibe is gone. It's disappearing. And well, and then socially, the women are just acting trashier and trashier. So basically, it's just a bunch of I don't know. I don't know.
Well, okay, I think this can all be easily solved by the law saying we can't do certain things and we must do other things. And that's the only way to make them think, so we're supposed to do this and we're not supposed to do that. And oh, no free porn for anyone. Oh dear. We'll and I think that will actually make a world of difference, because there's even this psychological term called sublimation. Have you heard of it?
No.
So it's basically saying, um, a man is very horny, but he has no money because he's a young man. So he has to sublimate his sexual energy into building a career, or building his business until he is capable of supporting a wife and family. And that's the whole purpose of sublimation. And nobody, I'm sure it will be considered to be, I don't know, fascist or something, you know.
I don't know what reminded me, but when I was a kid, uh, porn stuff was mailed in, uh, I guess, brown envelopes or something,
Hmm.
or whatever. Like I guess some people's dads would get Playboy magazine or this kind of stuff, right?
Hmm.
But now, then they had it. It was pretty much in the stores, and then it was behind the counter. I mean, and then people started all this kind of stuff with the porn and everything. But I mean, the real porn that was being used by young people was the Sears Roebuck catalog.
A robot catalog.
The Sears Roebuck catalog. People used to order clothes out of the Sears catalog,
Oh,
and it
right,
was
the
the
model.
underwear ads. The underwear ads with the ladies modeling the bras. They don't go look at that, these teenage boys, because that's all they could get access to. You know what I mean? It's just stupid. That's what they were looking at because men were curious about women. They wanted to know about women. I
Uh-huh.
mean,
Or
right? But
National Geographic, apparently.
oh, well, yeah, National Geographic was different. National Geographic was like, okay, now you can look at a bunch of non-white women,
Uh-huh.
natives in the jungle,
Yeah.
exposing their own because they weren't white people. I mean, that was sort of a little off, but it was that Sears catalog. And people used to order that a lot because a lot of people didn't have access to department stores and stuff. You
Uh-huh.
know, but it was that stupid Sears catalog. The guy's like, "Oh, look at her! She's in her underwear." I mean, that's what they were growing up with, not this trash that's growing up now, where you're just seeing it in a kid's cartoon. No, it wasn't like that. The nasty woman on TV would be Paul Drake and Perry Mason standing outside the hotel, and she's ironing something in a house robe. Oh, okay, you knew that was a bad woman there, right there. You knew. That's a bad woman, man. She's even wearing her house coat in front of a guy, you know?
That
And if
she's
you
not
read the
married
book,
to.
oh, yeah, in a hotel. I mean, she's even talking to him at a hotel, and then he's giving her the eyeball. Yeah, I mean, this was like the subtle stuff, but there's like no man vibe from these guys
Hmm.
at all. I mean, if the women, see, what I was trying to say is they used to wear a coat in public because you felt uncomfortable if you're standing around a group of men. If there was a whole group of men on a corner talking, women used to cross the street and go down the other way. They didn't want to walk by a group of men clogging the street up when I
Hmm.
was young. You just didn't want to do it.
Well,
Now the women are dressing half naked because the guys don't have enough van vibe to even make them feel like putting a coat on
mm,
across the street. This is
mm.
a serious problem. I'm not saying the guys on the corner were going to do anything to anybody, but
Yeah,
it
but
made
they
you a
would,
little bit nervous.
they would whistle, and now that's banned.
It wasn't just mooing and whistling. I'm just talking about like maybe there's just a group of guys talking. You didn't want to walk through them.
Yeah, yeah, because
And
they
that
they
was a
they'd make
natural
some
thing.
comment or look around at the same time or, say,
Well, you had a coat on. That's why women had a coat on a lot of times.
yeah.
You know. But then the coat went and everything. But this is now. I mean, now they're walking half naked. I mean, I half naked in front of men because they're not worried. They're not worried at all. I'm not saying you want to be worried or men should catcall. I'm not saying that, but the vibe is gone because they're not. It's just gone, and it's catcalling won't give a guy a man vibe. Some guy could stand there and catcall. That's not going to give him a man vibe. Anyway, it's just gone. It's genetically being removed. It's gone.
Well, I really think
So maybe Claire, they need to get off this processed food, eat organic food, and start eating some steaks. Maybe that would bring it back. I don't know. But the vegan sandwich has got to go. Okay. This just has to go. And some of these countries I go to, the people have gotten so poor there they can't eat meat. And I'm wondering, is this why the men are like this? They're just going weeks on end where they can't eat any meat? Is that
but
what's going
but
on?
they have more fighting spirit even in these poor places.
Well, I think, okay, but why one? Okay, but there's ethnic differences, and who went vegan first? I don't know. I mean, is it the lack of exercise? I don't know what it is,
It's all an
but something's
attitude
wrong.
of mind. I mean, going back to, our government wants us to be, feeling upset about the government, have more sex, have another drink, smoke a joint, they're actively
Oh well, yeah, that's
encouraging us
all.
to do these things. Are you feeling upset and depressed? Have you considered suicide? You know,
Well, yeah. How depressed are you? I get all my feelings about this. Nobody the people don't really want to sit around a guy who's talking most feelings like that. It doesn't make you feel like you're around the guy. But that's cosmetic, is what I'm saying. This is like cosmetic stuff. I don't think it would have been possible, no matter how much somebody dribbled at someone like my dad that they would have sat around getting all touchy feely about their feelings. I mean, it just wouldn't have happened. And it wasn't just well, they had hard lives. They had hard lives, so they had to be men, I guess. But no, this is
well, they
beyond Claire.
understood.
Come on.
They understood that women, however much they pretend to be sympathetic, don't want to. They wouldn't want to know a man who's been a victim of anything. They want to marry a
No,
hero,
but
not a victim.
that's not it. They weren't thinking that. They were just thinking, God, I want that woman. Yeah, I like her. I want to, oh, I, and then they maybe show off some way or do something. But, acting like you're the best buddy to go shopping with, it doesn't cut it.
Yeah.
And but it's more than, but Claire, no, it is more than just indoctrination and this and that, because you could take uh, I mean, it's not all Peanut the squirrel, that poor squirrel that they killed.
Oh, oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that squirrel they sent in the SWAT team searching for hours in the guy's house for the squirrel and then killed him. You know what I mean? The criminal of the century, this guy keeping a wild animal that was getting beat up by the squirrels outside, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, the other squirrels wouldn't let him be part of the crowd or whatever.
Mhm.
And it was that horrible, horrible thing. It's more than Peanut the squirrel.
Mhm.
It's more than that. It's just more than that. It's not just always this poor squirrel's weak. Right? You can't genetics doesn't change like that just because someone's talking to you
Mhm.
or trying to say, don't do that. What you had to do was they were trying to get men not to be so aggressive in society at women. You wanted a society where women could walk down the street. And it was white society really that gave that to women first. Okay, so is that what it was, that they were already starting to decay? I don't know. I really don't know,
Well, it's about sex
because it sounds like
segregation.
I'm advocating.
It really is
It
about.
sounds like I'm advocating. It sounds like I'm advocating, being a crazy, despot. Weird. I'm not advocating anything like that.
No, no, but the things, we obviously, I think, okay, somebody who wants to pick holes in your argument might be saying, make up your mind whether you want to be raped on the streets or treated as a normal person when you walk down the street as a young woman. And I suppose we can't really quite decide. And in the end, what we want are um, the sexes respecting each other's differences.
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if a guy is trying to talk to you or not. If you don't feel like that's a man, and there's too many men that if you're around, you don't feel like it's a man. He's a man, and it's not because he's has kind of a high voice or something. I've seen men in the past who have high voices, and you could tell that was a man in the room.
Yes, it's because
I
it's
mean,
how he behaves and how he might seek to.
no, I think you could tell if you were blindfolded, Claire, is what I'm saying. If you were blindfolded and nothing's going, I think you. It's like the smell of a, that movie, The Scent of a Woman. It's like the smell of a man.
Mm, mm,
It's gone.
mm,
It's gone.
mhm.
It's like, okay, you knew that was a guy. Like if you're standing alone, you just knew you were talking to a guy.
Yeah.
I think a lot of these younger guys, if you're alone, I mean, not me, I'm old, but if you're a young girl and you're alone with them, you're not getting the smell of a man. It's gone. I don't know what you
Maybe
call that.
it's the sweat of a working man. They smell.
Not no, no, not the sweat of the working man. It's like Pharaoh. It's like maybe what you said, Pharaoh, something like that.
Yeah.
It's not being picked up genetically. There should be some reason that you're picking up genetically. That's a man.
Mm,
It, it's missing.
mm,
This is dying out, and for some reason, it's going at dying out with white men first. Is what I think is going on. The big thing, because if the white men had it, the white women wouldn't be going after these uh uh kind of foreign guys and stuff, because white guys are actually better looking. A lot of them. I mean, not what I've been seeing lately on YouTube, but they're better looking. They go lift some weights and stuff. They're quite attractive in an aesthetic way. But why? So why they go? So why are these women going after these other guys? It's because those guys are giving off more of the scent of a man. If and I don't mean because they're acting like a jackass. I'm just talking to someone who just doesn't act like, I'm saying, let's say, someone's civilized in their behavior.
mhm.
They're giving off more of a scent of being a man. The scent of a man. It's gone, Claire.
Yes, yes.
Zero. Gone, gone.
I think that there's also this idea that women instinctively think that foreign men in their own country means that there's something clever about the man. He managed to get through the defenses of, the men of her country, and enjoying higher status, which means there's something, better about this foreign man than her own, than the men of her own.
No, I don't think it's intellectual at all. I think it's just the scent of a man. If they're not getting the scent of the man, they're not feeling like a woman.
Hmm.
This is the problem. So what's causing that? I don't know. But yes, your social stuff, yeah. That needs to be fixed too. Obviously, because people shouldn't be running around having irresponsible sex and all that, and because it tears down society, and it just creates a mentally and intellectually weak society too. They're just not going to achieve anything. People like this that just can't
Yeah, because they're
control their
easy
baser
they're
desire.
easy to blackmail and threaten and bribe with honey traps, right?
Well, it's just people that give in to despotic behaviors just don't have any discipline. They just don't have any discipline. You have to have discipline to do something or to progress in the world. You have to have some discipline. You have to suffer a little bit. You're gonna have to suffer a little bit. These things are important, but that's not what's causing this scent to disappear. This, whatever you want to call it, I don't know what you want to call it. Man vibe scent, whatever it is. You know, that whatever it was that made a woman instinctively know, oh God, I'm sitting in a room alone with this guy. That's disappearing. I'm sure there's a whole lot of women aren't afraid to sit in a room with a whole lot of guys they know. And I don't mean afraid. I'm talking about just this awareness. Oh yeah, that's a guy. It, it's gone.
Mm.
And I don't think it's just social. I think it's genetic, and because it's genetic, this social stuff is even having a faster effect. If you live in a society where men can't, uh, I don't know how to, I wish I had better vocabulary. It's just something wrong here with me trying to explain it, but it's shocking to me. It's absolutely shocking to me.
You don't know what you've lost until it's gone.
Mm. Well, I'm an old lady. So
Well,
I
well, well, so
there's
you've seen some things, but it's a whole attitude, you know, of being, you know, it's a cult of youth and beauty. So nobody respects you if they don't think you're young and sexy anymore, and therefore I think older people are afraid to give the younger generation the benefit of their experience and their wisdom because they don't want to be told that they're the low end status because they haven't just had sex. Because I get people kind of saying that they're the higher status than me because they have more sex than me. And I thought, well, since when was that a measure of status? But apparently it is.
oh, maybe, yeah, with people in junior high or so. Yeah, but Claire, co-ed schools, it wasn't just because of co-ed school. Co-ed school has been going just because of co-ed school. Co-ed school has been going on for, I don't know, forever.
Yeah, but I'm saying that's a problem because if we I mean I think it was very strictly enforced in England when ju- infant schools would have separate um exits and entrances for men and women, just like
Oh
mosques.
yeah, right.
So
Yeah,
once
well,
upon a time, you guys respected these differences, and then you decided it didn't matter anymore.
yeah, yeah. to do that.
Or
And
even
well,
in
when my mom
America?
was in school, yeah, and when my mom was in school, the playground, the girls played on one side and the boys on another.
Uh-huh.
But so they did because the boys were too rough when they were playing. I'm talking about elementary school. They were on separate sides of the playground because they were too rough. Well, they're not too rough now. And it's not because they went to school, because they were genetically had more of whatever it was that was going to make them men. They just had more. So it was just they were going to get hurt. Girls were going to get hurt because a little, you know, an 8-year-old boy is not going to be doing much, especially when they were brought up in the time that probably they didn't even have the Sears catalog. They had the Farmer's Almanac, right? They just did. It just wasn't like, you weren't seeing this massive media where, okay, you got peaks of everything before you ever really got a peak.
Mhm.
I mean, what you're saying is true. That there's definitely truth in that. There's definitely truth in if you've been seeing all these images of women that are, wow, they're so perfect. Yeah, maybe the guy's not interested in, the fatty pants, the fatty girl or whatever. He's not interested in that woman, but they can't all have that one, and they wanted women enough. They were going to get the one they could get. You're, you're seeing people now giving up. It's bad. This is all bad. It's a combination of all these things, but you cannot make that scent of a man come back, giving them a pep talk.
Well, I'm reminded of Mark Collett. You've heard of him, haven't you? Mark Collett. He told the story. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Carol? Maybe I'll remove you from speakers and then invite you to speak. Um, but anyway, I wanted to say that, oh, she's gone. Okay. I was going to tell a story about, I've forgotten now. Oh, forgotten. Okay, I guess I'll.
Something's wrong with my Twitter app,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know. I don't know how to fix it.
What's wrong with it?
I don't know. I got a notice that said, uh, you know, the empty the cache. I did that and something else, but I seem to get these spaces. I seem to be on them, and then I sort of get off. I don't think I'm being kicked off. I think my app shuts down a little bit every once in a while.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Um, uh, I was going to tell a story and I've forgotten what it was. I'm sorry. It'll come back to
Oh,
me.
we were talking about.
Um,
Okay, we're talking about.
you were talking about men not having it. Oh yes, Mark Collett. I was going to he told us a story on one of his streams, and he was saying, he went to a club, and were all these men hoping to get lucky with the women. And he said the white men the white local men were terrible because they were hanging back afraid of rejection, and he noticed that a lot of these foreign men just went from girl to girl to girl to girl, and weren't at all phased by rejection, because these men who um, had obviously crossed oceans and continents to get to this country were not afraid of a bit of rejection.
They're they were just saying, "Oh my God, these women aren't dressed. There's hope here." That's yeah. That's it.
Yeah,
They're just thinking, "My God, they're these ladies are actually probably going to say yes. Somebody in this room will actually say yes."
exactly.
That's what they were thinking. That's what they were thinking. Like, boy, okay, Claire, it's like this. It's like this. If you come, if you come from a country where it's almost impossible to get into college, say, right? You come to a country and then you come to somewhere like the United States, and it's like in in comparison, it's like they're giving degrees away. Who takes advantage of the degrees? A lot of these foreign people. Who doesn't? The people that live here, like me, I don't have a degree, right? But they came from a country, they see this is my chance to be something more than the piece of nothing I am right now. They go into these bars, these foreign guys, and they see these women that are dressed the way they are and everything, and they just think, oh my God, tonight's the night I'm not going to be a virgin anymore. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Their optimism and hope is over the top because of where they came from. Because where they're from, all they could go see was a hooker. You know what I'm saying? The
Mm,
hooker a lot of times older than they are and unappealing. And ew,
mhm.
you know what I'm saying? This was and their optimism and hope is over the top because this is unbelievable to them. It's like you're just it's like you've been starving to death and you came in and oh my God, it's a buffet. What is this place? That's what it is.
Yeah.
My husband gave a ride to some Arab one day. Some Arab one. My husband was a cab driver. That's what he used to do.
Mhm.
So he gave a ride to this Arab. The Arab made a mistake, and my husband's a foreigner. Okay, so the Arab asked him, "I want, we get some girls." And my husband's like, "Oh, what's this guy think? I'm a damn pimp?" Because a lot of cab drivers provide hookers.
Mhm.
A lot of black places. Well, not my husband. He drove him over to the lesbian bar and said, "There's a lot of women in there." And another time, he drove one over to a cowboy bar and told him you have to go all the way to the back.
What does that mean? What's a cowboy bar?
Cowboy bar, a
Oh,
cowboy
a gay
bar,
bar.
and no, a cowboy bar, like where a bunch of white cowboys are in it. We have real cowboys in the
Oh,
United
right,
States.
right.
You know what
You
I'm
still
saying?
have them. Okay.
They tell him to walk back. He's telling the Arab guy, "Yeah, go ahead and go in there, walk all the way to the back, like parade your immigrant self through a bunch of white guys that just don't want you in there." You know what I mean? I mean, this was it was like hysterical. I mean, he's just doing this. He's so mad that they had enough enough nerve to ask him,
To take them
where's
to the nearest brothel.
yeah, so he took them to a lesbian bar where they're not interested in him at all. So yeah, yeah, there's a lot of women in there. Yeah, it was full of women in there, and they didn't want that Arab guy coming in. I mean, they weren't going to do anything to him, but he wasn't going to get lucky there. And the cowboy bar, just like what and what would even be worse, which he didn't do, would be take him over to a biker bar. But he didn't do that. But he just got so mad that these Arab it was Arabs doing the Saudis.
Mhm,
Saudis that had come were asking for this. He's like, no, no, no. Because he actually doesn't like people being rude to women and stuff. My husband doesn't like it.
mhm, mhm,
But I mean, that's what it goes. So that's what the foreign man is. It's like, oh my God, we're walking in and it's a woman bazaar. And
A
what
wo a
it's a woman
a woman
bazaar, and
buffet,
you
and
don't
eat all
even
you
have
want
to
buffet.
buy them. You don't have to buy them, and they're actually my age or younger. Hot diggity dog! Hot diggity dog! Because if you see some of those hookers in the Middle East, you're like, oh my God. Like they got the cell phones and stuff, the street, the park walkers. I call them the park workers. They're out in the park, they got their phone, they got the pimp with the cell phone, and they're sending like body shots of the lady without the fit. Those women can't get married. They don't have good enough looks to get married,
Mhm,
right? So this was like hot diggity dog. Yeah, they don't know. They don't know. They just don't know they should be intimidated and they're going to be turned down. They think, oh gosh, you turned me down. Well, maybe the next one. They don't have enough experience to realize that they will start getting turned down because their optimism and hope is over the roof.
mhm.
That's what's going on. That's what's going on. So Mark, let's disagree. Yeah, the white guys just need to go over and start talking, pick up a little swag and go talking. Sure, they need to start doing that. But you can't. It's hard when you're in a more refined, well-behaved culture to knock these guys out of the way because they've already knocked you out of the way. It's like, what white guys? They don't even see the white guys. And these pubs is these foreign guys, they don't even see them. They're just like, oh my God, it's woman time.
Mm.
Yeah. Anyway. Okay, Claire. So I guess the party's over here, huh?
Well, I've enjoyed it. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, okay.
Alright,
All right. Let's talk to you
okay.
later. Bye.
Take care.
Solid.
Bye.